Hey everyone, and welcome to my craft room. My name's Julianne Richards, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in southern Tasmania. How about that hoopy lead in? That was so cool. Found it on my restream, so I thought, oh, I'll give that a bit of a go this morning. So just sitting here, tapping my fingers while sort of the spacey music was playing. But anyway, we'll have a bit of an experiment as we get more into the restream program. But anyway, as I say, thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to be featuring the Flowering Tulips stamp set and a few of the elements from the associated dies as well. There's a lot more to go with these particular dies, but I'm going to be actually saving those up until my launch Zoom party next Sunday. So if you're coming along to that one, you'll definitely see some really nice tulips, basically just 3D tulips made from cardstock and the dies rather than not much stamping, but really handy for those sorts of lovely 3D effect cards. But anyway, we've got some 3D effects happening here today. I'm just watching some people jump on. I think I saw, did I see? No, I haven't seen her yet. I'm waiting for Jan. There she is. Happy birthday, Jan. It's Jan Casey's birthday today. And that poor lady is locked into her house in Canberra and can't go anywhere. Not that being locked down in Canberra would be too bad, but yeah, so thinking of you, Jan. Anyway, so as I say, a bit strange for me this morning. I'm actually moved my craft room into the bedroom of my youngest son, who has in turn taken over the bedroom of my eldest son, who's moved out. So the light is different. It's coming from a different angle. This is an east facing bedroom, whereas my little craft room is south facing. So I'm chasing these light beams up the side of my craft space. So I've got this tiny little craft space. I've got a beam of light going up on the left and a beam of light going up on the right, and I'm trying to cover them both over. But I'm going to have to work out something a bit different with these blinds. They don't seem to cut everything out, but we'll see. So the light's a bit different. The sound might be a bit different because it's a bigger room and it might echo a wee bit. And everything's backwards. My computer's on my right. My cut and emboss is on my left. So it all could be a little bit turned around today, so bear with me. But hopefully I've got everything I need in here because half my supplies are actually still in the other room. So if I've come across anything that I haven't got that I need, I may have to go for a sprint around the other side of the house, but we'll see how we go. Anyway, so this card here is the first one I've made with the Flowering Tulip stamp set. I've got to say I struggled a wee bit. Just a wee bit in the fact that it's a two-part stamp, and I sometimes find those a little bit hard to get a grips with, matching the colours and stuff like that. So I basically copied this one from a very talented American demonstrator whose name Sharon Burkett, I think she was. Basically, I stole her idea just while I got my head around the stamping and the colours and everything like that. And I think it turned out quite well. The one thing I'll point out with you for this one is the fact that the dies have these really cute little holes, which I've never actually been able to work out what to do with. These little holes, it just goes straight through the cardstock like that with a series of little square holes. And when you close the card, you get the white of the back come through, which is sort of an added element to the card, but it gives it a nice little effect. I haven't actually used that on either of my cards, so I did want to point that out to you today. But anyway, the combo that I've used on this one is Polished Pink and Flirty Flamingo, so that's pretty bright, that one. And it's quite nice. I do like it. The leaves are Old Olive with a little bit of blend of peppers just to fill them out a bit. So that's the one I started with. That's the one that got me going. So my second attempt was all my own, I'm proud to say, and this is the one I'm going to be making for you today. Just got this one on a card front. I haven't put it onto an actual card. It's just a card front, so I'll mount it up later. I wasn't exactly sure I was going to like it when I started, but I do, so I'm going to make this one again. So this is the one I'm going to make for you today. It's got a blend brush background in the Fresh Freesia, and the complementary colour is Highland Heather. And I've got my leaves this time in Soft Succulent, which is one of my favourite greens. So we're going to make this one today, and we'll see how we go. And then there's another one I'm going to make towards the end, and yeah, I'm really unsure how that one's going to go. I've made an attempt at it, and it ended up in lots of red ink and a little bit of grumbling under my breath. I won't say swearing, but definitely grumbling under my breath. So we'll see how we go when we come back to that one. So anyway, giving the game away. I've got all those cut already. Pop those over there. Hope I haven't lost any. Okay, so we're starting. This is a square card. I love to do a square card now and then. They're just a little bit different. It's a 5-inch square card. So it's a 5-inch by 10-inch piece of hot. Where did hot come from? Basic thick cardstock, which I've scored in the middle. So that's our card base. I then go down a 1/4 of an inch for a piece of fresh freesia. So that one there, and I can watch that. I'm watching that bit of cut. That as long as that light beam heads over in that direction, we'll be fine. Yeah, so that's fresh freesia. That's half an inch smaller. So that's 4.5. Yeah, so that's half an inch smaller, 4.5 square, and this one is 4.25 square. So that one there is going to sit on top. So that's our layers there. This is the one I'm going to be doing my blending on, so we can pop the others away. So I'm going to grab my yet to be cleaned purpley blending brush. I have a blending brush for every sort of colour group. So I have one for my oranges and my reds, and one for my yellows, and one for my greens, and one for my blues. And I just wash them in between, and then sort of bring them out when I'm blending specific colour families. You could have one for every colour if you thought you could afford them and you had somewhere to store them. Although I can recommend, here we go, plug time for storing your blending brushes. Jan Casey, her son Phil, makes these wonderful 3D blend brush holders. So if you want to send a message at any stage, she has her own Facebook page now, so I can give you a link to that one. There we are. So I'm going to just grab my fresh freesia and my blending brush, and I'm just going to start sort of, it's not quite in the middle, it's more over to the sort of left hand bottom, sort of. And I'm just going to start with a sort of a darker in the middle, and then go out. So just basically, forgive me, that wobbled a bit, hopefully I'm a bit far down. And I'm going to take it out a fair way, so it's sort of most of the way out to the edges, but not all the way. And then lighten it right off as we get out to the edges of it. There we are. So basically they've just got a big blended blob of colour. So I'm going to keep that. So what I'm going to do now before I start adding our beautiful tulips is to pop my my sentiment on. And as I said to Jen on Messenger this morning, this one is in honour of her. So I'm going to use "No one deserves a happier birthday than you." So there you go, Jan. Nobody deserves a better, happier birthday than you. Hopefully it will get better and happier once you feel a little bit better. So I'm hoping this is actually a little bit bigger than the sentiment I used on the first card. So I'm hoping that I can still work around it. Let's see how we go. So I'm going to use Gorgeous Grape because it's a deeper, stronger sort of purple than the others that I'm using. And I want my sentiment to stand out. Okay, so just with our Gorgeous Grape, no one deserves a better, a happier birthday than you. So I'm going to pop that on there now. Might just stamp that once just to make sure it's even. Yeah, no, that's cool. Okay, so to make this background a tiny wee bit more special, I'm going to pop it through my embossing folder, my Tasteful Textiles embossing folder. So I'll just get rid of that for a second. And just give it that nice linen sort of feel that the embossing folder gives. Where are my embossing folders? Oh, I know. Everything's moved. Apologies, guys. Everything has moved. Embossing folders are now over to my left. They were on my right. So I'll just bring that in. I'm going to pop that in. Just there. Just got my embossing plate there and just pop that through. And those of you who watch me a fair bit will know that I do love the effect of popping a stamped panel through this particular one. There's been some lovely ones for this. There was a subtle 3D one which was absolutely perfect for it a few catalogues ago, but this Tasted Textures one is a worthy successor. So we've got that through. Where's that light going? If I move over this way a bit, oh no, that's all right. It's not in our way, so that's okay. I'm going to have to get a piece of paper up there. Okay, so we've got that through the embossing folder, and I don't know if you can see that. It just adds that really nice little sort of linen look to it almost. Okay, so now just watching the comments. We've got a few more people on. I see Maureen and Sue and Debbie. Thanks for joining me, guys. And Kathy. Yes, it is morning. It's 20 to 11 now or something thereabouts. Okay, so, and I'll answer any questions and things you've got later after the video. Okay, so now we've got that all done, so we can pop that one aside and we can start stamping our beautiful tulips. Okay, so as I said, this first one is a combination of the fresh freesia, which we've just used on our background, and our Highland Heather, which I've got here as well. So I would suggest, and why I have struggled with this one is that I struggle with colours for a start, but I struggle with trying to work out what layers should go on top and what layers should go underneath, which is, yeah, it's just a thing, just my thing. So basically, just have a bit of an experiment and see what works for you. With this one, I'm going to use the Highland as the darker of the two. I'm going to use the Highland Heather as the main colour, I suppose, and the fresh freesia is sort of like the highlight colour or the secondary colour. So I just have to work out which way that means. So this one here is going to be my Highland Heather. So as I said, each of the flowers has two parts, has a top coat and a bottom coat, I suppose you'd call it. So there is the first one in Highland Heather. Okay, for that particular one, I'm just going to go through and do all the Highland Heather ones first, and then I'll swap over to the freesia, and then you can see how pretty they all are. So this is the smaller tulip that's not quite opened up as much as the others, and that's him in Highland Heather. And on the other side, I've got the second one, so I didn't get them mixed up. And this is the smallest of the tulips, and this is sort of just still in bud form, just like that. So that's our first three stamps for all three of them. It's all right, stay up there, light. Okay, so now we'll bring in the freesia. And this is a tough one. Bring in our freesia again. So the stamp set has the complementary one, the smaller one that goes with it. So you know which ones they are because they're actually next to each other on the stamp set. So you'll soon get the hang, because they do have shapes in common. They have where you line up little bumps that go together. So this is the one that goes with the little bud. And you look at it closer, there are two little bumps at the top, which correspond to two little bumps on the original image, we'll call it. So that's our fresh freesia for that one. I'll clean that off. I'm going to get fresh freesia everywhere. And then this is the tricky one. I can never remember which way. Which one did I do then? Okay, so I did that one. So this is the one for the big open full tulip. Take that off so I can see through. So you basically, again, you can line them up. You can see the outlines of the two images obviously need to match, or do match fairly well if you can line them up. Yeah. So that's the fresh freesia version of on top of that. And the middle one is this one. And this little one here goes in the middle. Take that off. And again, it's got two little bumps that line up. And you know you've got it in the right spot. Cool. So that's the fresh freesia. Okay, so that's those done. There is one more thing, and you'll notice it's so funny how it happens when you add, I've mentioned it before, a layout can be fairly ordinary until you add the leaves. I find you can have beautiful flowers, and then it just really oomphs when you add the green leaves. Whereas this little tulip here looks pretty forlorn, and then you add the little stamen in a darker brown. This time I've used soft succulent, and that one really lifts. It really makes a difference. So I suppose that's the idea there. So there are our three little tulips there that we're going to cut out. Yeah, I like them now. It's taken me a few cards to get to like it. So please, if you want to try this one, don't give up on the first go. It will take a little while to for you to get your head in and around with it. So I will die cut those as well. So now we're going to do the leaves, and as I said, the leaves are in soft succulent, my favourite green. And for this one, I'm going to need 2 big long leaves and 2 stalks and 1 of the smaller leaves. We've got 3 flowers, so you could do 3 stalks, but you don't actually see the third one, so I didn't bother. So as you saw before when I gave the game away, I've actually done all these, so I'm just showing you the images here. So there's a nice big leaf, a smaller leaf, and a stem. So the stem you use with all 3 flowers, you use the same stem, and the leaves you can use as you want. Okay, so I would also die cut those as well. But as you saw when I gave the game away, I have actually done all that, so I won't have to do that for you now. Okay, so I'll bring in the die cut, and let's hope I've got them all. So 2 big leaves, a little leaf, 2 stalks, and our 3 flowers. There we are. Okay, so that's the basis of our card. So I'm going to bring back in our little stamped and blended background, and we can start building these up. So I find it easier, and as I say, it's a real experiment. You really need to experiment and work out what works for you. I'll find my dimensionals. I find it easier with this one to position the flowers first and then come in with the leaves second. So, and doing that, I'm actually using small dimensionals, and I'm keeping them towards the middle a fair bit, and I'm not overdoing the numbers because I want to be able to bring up the stalks and stuff underneath. So there's nothing worse than trying to bring in a stalk underneath and finding that you've popped a dimensional in the way. So I'm going to position these because I've got a larger sentiment this time. I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful with where I pop things. So there's my big flower. I'm going to pop my little bud next to that. Sort of looking off over to the right hand side if flowers can look. There we are. And then I'm going to bring in this little last one. And just snuck him, just put him in under there. So I'm going to have a stem that comes up under him. Actually, I can add that. Might add that. Just bear with me. I'm going to add the stalk because I know I want this one here. The stalk for this little flower is going to have to come up and under it. So I might glue him in first. If I could find some glue. Here it is. It's sitting there in my glue fold holder, which is also provided by Jan's son, Phil. Plug, plug. Okay, so let's bring that one in and down there. Okay, now I'm going to bring in our little guy here. Tell me if I get too soft, guys, because I actually had somebody, and I didn't think I was going to have anyone complain about my volume again because I use my headset now. But somebody came on YouTube the other day and said my volume was bad. So I don't know whether that was their setup or whether it's actually something I tend to forget that I'm on live and sort of chat away to myself more than anything sometimes when I'm doing this. So yell at me if I'll even give you permission to use big letters. Yell at me if I drivel away into quietness, or whether it's just the lady setup. People tend to like to blame you for their setups sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to bring in this little stalk now, this little stem. Bring that one in there. So we're going to tidy this up, obviously, with the leaves and the ribbons. So don't worry too much if it's a little bit, a bit untidy at the bottom. We always hide our untidinesses. Okay, so we've got our 2 stalks and our 3 little flowers. And I think that probably a couple of those would really sort of benefit from some bling, some wink of Stella or something. But we'll put some bling on in a minute. So I'm going to bring in the leaves now. I'm going to do something slightly different with these leaves because I want them to maintain that sort of 3D effect. So I'm going to pop glue on their base, and then I'm going to pop, and I only just thought about doing this the other day. Well, I saw somebody else do it. And pop a little dimensional at the end there like that. So then when you pop it on, the glued end will go down here and glue at the base, but the dimensional will keep that little sort of 3D thing happening with the tip of the leaf. So it looks like it's actually coming away from the page a little bit, which it is, I suppose. So I'm going to do that with all of them. I'm going to make sure I don't go over my sentiment here too much. So I'll pop the second one up there. Maybe that way. Don't want to cover over too much. So again, I'm going to pop glue at this end and a little dimensional at that end. Cover over our untidiness a wee bit and pop that there. And our last one is going to sort of come in that way. Pop that under there a bit and have it sort of coming in and over our sentiment a little bit. Like that. No, like that. So it's going to be on that little flower a bit. So again, some glue at one end. And a wee whatever they're called, dimensional at the other end. Here we are. How's that? Isn't that lovely? As I say, it's worth persevering with, guys. If you don't think you like it to start with, definitely worth sticking with until you're happy with your colours and everything. I really like that. I think the sponged background, and the white that's actually still left in the design sort of really makes it pop, which I think that's the real basis of it. The white that's left, you know, uncoloured is actually probably more effective than the colour itself. Wow, that's deep. Okay, so I'm going to pop this one on some dimensionals as well. You can't have too much dimension. My youngest is home from his internship this weekend. It's his birthday. It's a big week for birthdays. It's Sammy's birthday Jan's birthday today. Not that I had anything to do with that one. Sammy's birthday tomorrow, which I sort of had something to do with that one. And my birthday on Sunday. So it is a big time for birthdays in my family. And yeah, don't know how clever I was working that out. I know he was born in the middle of a Melbourne heat wave. Back in, both my boys were, I think I mentioned that last week. Yeah, in the Melbourne heat wave of 1999. Wasn't very clever. I remember we were living in a rented apartment that had no air conditioning, and we didn't have a lot of money because I obviously was off with the two boys, and Steve was doing his postgrad. I think there wasn't much money in postgrads, and yeah, so he bought me a tiny air conditioner that wouldn't cool the whole room in this rented place we were living in. So he built me a box, basically, just a room. It was no bigger than a toilet. It was pretty small. Built me a box and put the air conditioner in the box so that when I got hot, I could sit and be cooled in this little room that he made me. It was quite sweet, but quite funny when I think about it now. The amount of electricity we waste cooling a room where there's nobody in it at the moment, and here I was sitting in this little box. Anyway, that's things you do when you're starting off. Anyway, I do thank him for that. Okay, so I'm going to add some bling. These adorable little blings, sort of just the in colour blings, and these are the fresh freesia ones, of course. So I'm going to pop them around. And then Jan's birthday card, which is not really because I've already sent her a birthday card, but Jan's in honour of Jan's birthday is with the ribbon is complete. And then we'll start the card that made me lose my temper today. And let's hope it doesn't make me lose my temper again. So I'm even splurging out, and I'm using 5 dimensionals. 5 embellishments. You know, that's how much this birthday means to me, Jan. I'm using 5 embellishments. Okay, so here's a ribbon. Got the whole hog happening here. And I'll pop a glue dot on the back of my little ribbon. I might have made the ribbon a bit big, I think. And then pop that just on there, just at an angle so it doesn't cover over my sentiment too much, but there we go. Covers it a bit, but that's all right. There we are, all done. Happy birthday. So there you are. That's in honour of Jan's birthday. So hopefully you like that one, Jan. So I think I'm going to actually make the tulips a class in the coming months. So if you do my product classes, keep an eye out for that one, and we will definitely do the tulips. Once I've sort of got my head around some more combos and how to use it, we will do it as a class. So if you like that, please watch my watch my Facebook page for a class. Okay, so the next card. Let's see how we go. We might actually we might actually, I don't know whether I give up while I'm ahead or I plough on, but anyway, we'll try. The next card, I just wanted to do a simple Z-fold, Cascading Z-fold card. And so I had a look on on Pinterest, and I found some measurements for people, and I had like about 5 attempts, and I got ink everywhere, and I grumbled quite explicitly under my breath, and no one's measurements worked. All the angles were wrong, and oh, it just made me so angry. So I've got 2 bits of advice for you if you want to do a Z-fold, cascading Z-fold card. My first piece of advice would be don't. Just find another card and do that. But if you're stubborn like me and you want to do it, my advice to you is don't look at Pinterest or YouTube for the measurements. Just basically wing it yourself. Work out what works for you and go for it. But anyway, I'm going to attempt to show you, where's that light going? Where's that one come from? That's a brand new light, that one there. I don't know where that's come from. Anyway, we'll have to see. And I think let me know as well, the internet. I'm not quite as sitting on top of the internet box here as I am in my other little craft room. So let me know if it gets a bit staggery. Yeah, because yeah, I might have to get myself a booster or something if I'm going to move into this room. I love being in here. It's much bigger, but if there's too many downsides, I might have to move back down and get back into my small room again. Like if the light's going to be a pain and the internet's going to be a pain, I might have to move back. Anyway, so what I've got here is some old olive, and let's hope this works out. Some old olive cardstock, and I've made that my normal length, so that's 5 3/4. So I can get 2 of them out of a normal A4, but I've cut it down to 8 inches wide. So I've taken that 1/4 of an inch off the end. And the reason I've done that is basically, the reason I've done that is so the scores are easy. So I'm going to score at 2 and I'm going to score at 4. So obviously if I had that, that extra 1/4 of an inch, it'd get into the 1/8 of an inch. I'm just going to open my door, if I can. I'm going to open the door and see whether that helps the internet, because the internet's out in the other room. So let's see. I might have to get what do they call it? One of those thingies. There's a thingy you can get a booster that boosts your internet. So as I say, 5 3/4 by 8. And I'm going to score it at 4, which is halfway, which is obviously our centre fold, and then again at 2. And so that's so that it can fold. Obviously, when we get our Z, it'll fold evenly there. Okay, so before I do that, I'm going to do the centre fold, so that's okay. But so that's the front of our card. What I'm going to do now is measure using my little grid, which I love. I'm going to measure 2 inches up from the bottom, and I'm going to pop a little pencil mark there. So 2 inches, a little pencil mark just there. So now I'm going to cut that from that pencil mark to the centre. Okay, so that's the easy part. That's the bit I could get from everybody's Pinterest posts and YouTube channels and blah blah blah. And it got me really confused. I felt some of your pain, because a lot of them had them in centimetres, and then I got like totally turned around because as you know, I use inches, not centimetres. But anyway, so that's what you want. So that one there, that centre fold, is going to fold back, and that is our Z. Okay. Hey Sammy, do you get internet trouble in here? We're a bit jittery in places. Do I need a booster, do you think, or? Okay, it might just be the internet today. Thank you. So handy having an internet person in the house. Anyway, so that's our Z there. Okay. Now, that was okay. That's the easy bit. The bit that got complicated was how to do the little triangular pieces for here and here. So that's the bit that I've decided that's your best just to do your own thing and not worry about other people's measurements on the internet. So what I've got here, we know that because we've scored this so that this is 2 inches wide. I know that I like to have a 1/4 inch border. So I've got myself here a 1 3/4, yes, 1 3/4 wide piece of white cardstock. So this is the one, if you look there, it fits perfectly with my required border all the way around. So what I'm going to do to cut that into the right position, size, is position it so that I have the border that I want all the way around. Then again, with my little pencil, I'm going to mark so that I get the right sized border at the top as well. And then I'm going to position my 2 little marks. And if I can ever find my rubber, I will rub those out when I'm done. So there, like that. So rather than me say to you, cut it to this, measure it off at the side, blah, 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 my advice to you is basically just measure them yourself. You know your width, and then just measure them. So what we're going to have to do again with to do the inside one is, because obviously that's not long enough, that should be, the angle there is going to be right, but that's not long enough because I have cut it too short. Anyway, so what we can do there is do the same thing again. I'll grab a 1 3/4. What's this one? Wouldn't be that lucky, would I? No, that's only 1 1/2. I'll grab a piece. I've got so many. Hang on, I'll get from my wasted cardstock this morning. I've got plenty over here, so let's do that. So again, I'm going to grab a 1 3/4 wide because that's the border I want on the sides. I'm going to get my bit that I want. It's going to go in there. So give it the required borders, left, right, and bottom. Grab your pencil, mark the top border, and just cut those with your trimmer. And then you can be sure that the length is right, the width is right, the angle is right, and you won't have a whole lot of swearing happening like I had this morning. So that's the look we're going for there. The sort of turnouts have their matching white pieces of cardstock. Okay, so let's get rid of the trimmer for the moment. I have a lot more ground space in this room, so basically I can pop things on the floor. Then we want a piece of cardstock for inside, and this one is a little bit wide, so I'm going to have to chop that down. So much for getting rid of my trimmer. So this one should be 1/8 of an inch shorter. Yep, so that's 5 5/8, and I want it 3 7/8. That's why it's a little bit too wide. Okay, so we're going to start stamping our beautiful tulips on this one, just assuming that it's, so don't lose those, they're my specially made bits. So we're going to pop that one in there. So what's going to happen is you're going to see this white, because this is as much as there is to this card. That's as much as there is to the front. The rest of it is both inside and outside at the same time. So I'm going to pop my sentiment in first, because that's the important bit that I want to have showing. So I'm going to pop this. This one here is quite pretty. Let today be the start of something new. So obviously when we have a birthday, it's the start of a new year for us. So let's pop that one in. Got to find a block. Oh, here we go. And I'm using, and you'll see in a moment what colours I'm using, but I'm going to use, if I can find it, early espresso for my sentiment. Nice and bold and dark. So let's position that so we know it's in the right spot. And then my sentiment's going to be hopefully straight. And just there. Okay, look at that. Beautiful, beautiful dark chocolate brown. Okay, so now we can start. That's not all I'm doing. We can start doing the tulips. So this time I'm going to just use the stamp set. I'm not going to die cut these as such. And I would normally do masking so that you could put a whole lot of flowers around each other and sort of have them overlapping, but I'm just going to do it just unmasked, and because that's going to leave a nice amount of space between them so they don't overlap too much. I'm using cherry cobbler and real red. So these are beautiful dark red tulips that we're making this time, and the stamen of the open one is the Yearly Espresso, as I mentioned, and the leaves and stalks I'm going to go back to our old olive, so I've got that as well. Okay, so let's give that a start. Ooh. So again, I'm going to do, I've got to remind myself what I did. I'm going to do the main one in the cherry cobbler. So that's a sort of a dark bricky sort of, it's funny, whatever language it is, I'm not quite sure. It's actually, cherry cobbler is called chili. I don't know if you can read that. It's obviously some different language. It's called chili. So yeah, so it's obviously a chili in whatever language that is. It's a chili red, which I think if you think about a really dark, lovely red chili is probably pretty close to the truth. So I'm going to get rid of my Z, and I'm going to come in with some beautiful red, chili red flowers. I'm going to do 3 or 4 of the big one. I think that's enough. Oh, somebody's come to the front door. Okay, what do I do? I do another one? No, that'll probably do. I'm going through this thing where you guys know me, that I overdo. Sometimes I get a bit carried away. So then I'm going to bring in the real red. And then you'll see these really take up their real texture. Okay, so lining up the bumps. And there's our real red. Check that out. Okay, so that's them. I'm going to bring the smaller ones in and around those 3. I'll go back to the cherry cobbler first of all. I'll bring in the bigger one first, because you can always bring the little one in and tuck it in and around things. And as I say, I want to make sure that the leaves and things don't sort of overlap the tulips too much. So I'm just going to keep them fair distance apart, and then visualising their little stalks as they poke in and around. Where's his? Is going to go there. It wasn't a great angle for him. It's going to go there. That one's going to go there. So I want one there. Where else do I want one? I might bring the little one in now. And I'll do lost my thing. I'll do the real red part of those first. There we are. Then we'll bring in the little bud. That's in there. Stalk's going to go there, so let's put one in here. And that stalk's going to go down there, so let's pop one Stalk's going to go down there. Let's pop one. No, I don't think so. Stalk's going to go there. Sorry, I'm thinking to myself, this is actually meant to be quiet thinking. So I know I asked you to tell me if my volume went. I'm actually talking to myself at the moment, so that's okay. This isn't the volume gone quiet, it's me. Okay, so let's do the real red part of those. And we can start with the leaves. And the leaves will fill it out a fair bit as well. Here we are. So at the moment they just look like disembodied flower heads just sort of strewn all over the place, but we'll bring in the leaves and the stems and it'll fill it out really nicely. Okay, so I'll bring in my old olive and I'll bring in my stalks and leaves. Where are they? Over here. So we'll do our stalks first. I might just take the leaves off. Do the stalks where they need to be. Let's have a look. Obviously one's got to be just a tiny bit there. And then where's that going to come in there? I might be able to add some more. Might be able to add some more flowers at some stage. And that one's going to come in that way. I can't quite see that block. Can't quite see through at that angle, so I'll just change the angle a little bit. Now this polymer, this photopolymer stamp is sort of quite flexible. So if you find that it's sort of, you'd prefer it curl a certain way, you can actually change the angle sort of by forcing it into a different angle on your block. Obviously, I wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it if you're going to die cut it, because obviously a die cut's not going to change its angle. But if you just wanted to change it for some straight stamping like this, you quite easily can change the angle so that it fits where you want it to be. So I'm going to bring in the little flower here, the little leaf, and I'm going to give these guys some leaves. So just sort of imagining where the leaves would be around the place. Trying not to, as I said, trying not to overlap the flowers themselves too much. I'm not too worried about the leaves overlapping each other. Oh, my iPad's about to die, but I don't want them to overlap the, which is probably, I really wanted one up there, but I'm not going to get one. Don't want them, as I said, overlapping the flowers themselves too much, or at all, if I can get away with it, but too much. Okay. Now, I've put too many on there, haven't I? Eek. Oh well, that's okay. Might just leave it. You know, I have a horrible habit of overdoing things when I do too much. I'll end up with some leaves around the place that actually make no sense at all, which is be the worst thing. But I'm going to pop a couple around just to fill in some gaps, just around. Anyway, okay, that's probably enough. But I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to overdo it. But I think that's quite striking with the reds and the nice green against the white. Important thing, I'm going to do the insides of the large tulips here with our little inside bit. And then that will be the inside of my card done. Well, the inside outside, it's sort of a bit funny, isn't it? It's the inside, but you can see it. Okay, so let's bring back the dreaded Z. I think this is the one I did. I've had so many Zs around here. Honestly, there was so much waste. I hate waste. You guys know I hate waste, but this morning was frustrating me. So that one's going to sit on the inside, and then that's got Z's going to come over in front like that. So that's why we've got our sentiment there. Okay, so we might pop that in now. We can do some extras on the little Z's at the front. There we are. There we are. Right there. So we've excuse me. So we've got our two inside Z's. One's going to come there, and one's going to go there. So I'm going to pop some more tulips on those. So I'm going to sort of visualize what I want to do. I do actually have one that when I experimented. I know I said I wasn't going to use the dyes, but when I was experimenting with the colors, I actually made this one here. So I'm wondering if I can use that slightly off the top and give it a little bit of a 3D effect. So let's see what we do there. So if we pop that one there, then I could probably pop one of the little ones. I'll pop him there, or yeah, there, looking up that way. We pop a little guy there. Let's see. I might just fussy cut him since I don't get the dyes out. It's lovely, easy, not too complicated fussy cutting happening. I might fussy cut that out, and then at least I can visualize what I'm doing. You can see I didn't get this far with this one. It frustrated me so much this morning. I was even wondering whether I was going to do it at all. But I just love that red, the two reds together. I might have to close the door. My husband's swearing at the dog. She gets a bit whingy when there's someone in the kitchen. She thinks there's food in it for her. So I'll pop that one there. And then I could pop maybe the bud off to the side. Just like on there. Yep, let's do that. I'm going to bring the stems in first though, so I don't get too out of control. Here we go. We'll put the stems on first so I know where I'm headed with those. So I want one headed over that way, which is where I'm going to put my little die cut one or fussy cut one. I'm going to have a little bud come in. I need to leave room for it. There. Okay, so we'll do our little bud. Might do some leaves before I forget what I'm doing. Let's do some leaves. And then I'll know where I'm headed. A little leaf coming up that way. And that way. Yep, that works. And we'll bring in our little bud. Bud, there you are, bud. And cherry cobbler first. And then our real red. Okay. There, isn't that sweet? Oh, it's all over my fingers. Okay, so pop this one in place, and then I can pop that die cut one in. So this was a really sort of a matter of building it up. So, you know, unless you really know where you're headed, which you can tell from my tone in this one, I really didn't. And I've got this ink splodge there. There we are. So I'll bring in this one with a dimensional on the back. I think it's going to be okay though. It seems to be building up okay. I'm quite happy with it so far. And bring this little guy in. The dimensional one. And then I know I'm not overlapping. Bring this little guy in here. We go too far off the edge of the card, so we might have to come back in a bit. Here we are. And I can pop another dimensional one there so I know I'm underneath. There we are. There we are. So that's there. How are we going? That's pretty good. And our last bit is this one here. And it's going to sit in there. So really, we're going to bring some more of our little tulips up that bit as well. So let's, don't really have to, I suppose you could do them all the way. Let's have a go. Might stick to the smaller ones because the big one's fairly big, obviously. So what are we going to do here? Cherry cobbler again. So we can do some stems coming up through here and then maybe a couple of them. So we've got to fit in there. Maybe just one big one. I think maybe just one big one. Will that go? Sorry, just thinking to myself here. Probably should have organised this one a bit more. He is swearing at the dog and they have to close the door. So we'll just go cherry cobbler right at the top there. Just as far up as I can go. There we are. Would you like to close the door for me, Sunshine? Since you, oh, that door. Oh, that's a good idea. Okay. Thanks for bearing with me, guys, here while I sort this one out in my own head. There we are. Give it its little inside. There we are. Some stems and some leaves. There we are. I might just leave that one at that. I could come in with some of the others, but I think that's probably just nice on its own there. And it will sort of peek in over the top of that layer there, just like that when it's closed, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Yes. Hopefully that makes sense. And I've got a bit of a splodge, which I'm trying to find my rubber. My mono rubber was packed away. I'm sure it was. There it is. get that splodge. And then we might do some bling, and then this one's done. As much as it can be. Okay, let's pop this one in. So we've got real red. So I might go some nice iridescent rhinestones for my bling. There we are. Isn't that good? That's nice, isn't it? The way that sort of cascades, follows your eye up, and then when you open it up, you've got more of the beautiful tulips happening. So I quite like that. Probably would bring another little flower in there, but that's fine. That's perfectly fine. So let's get some bling. Where's my bling? Everything's everywhere. Let's have a look. Let's get some rhinestones happening. Where are they? No, there they are. Let's get some of these lovely iridescent rhinestones. And pop those around. And we can put them on the front and the back, can't we? Because we've got lots of opportunities for blinginess. I'll pop a couple on there. And one there. And then I might pop a couple on the inside as well. There we are. Okay, and then you might want to write your message there, or you could pop a little panel on the back if you didn't want to write it on the front. But there we are. So that's our little Z-fold. As I said, play it by ear with the measurements, play it by ear with the stamping, but that's quite nice. That would sort of sit on your display like that, which is quite lovely. And as I say, it shows off those tulips to great effect there. So that's my 2 cards for today. The second one was a bit of a trial. I'm glad you all stuck with me, or most of you stuck with me. Now that it's done, it was absolutely worth it. I love that red. That's just so, and the white, as I say, it's the white that's not stamped, which I think makes it so effective. So we've got our red and Calypso Coral, and we have our Freesia and Highland Heather. So both beautiful in their way. One's quite striking and one's more subtle. So there we are. As I say, this is the Flowering Tulips Bundle. So we've got the stamp set and the dies. As I say, there is more to the dies than you've seen today, and that will be, I'll do some designs with that in upcoming weeks, just to show you how to make the beautiful 3D tulips. Okay, somebody's cooking eggs and bacon in the next room. They're making me exceptionally hungry, so I'm going to go and have some, what is it now, brunch, I suppose it is. Have a great day, have a great weekend, have a great birthday, Jan, what's left of it. What you can, and I will see you all next time. Okay,